And welcome back to the Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Patrick Dura. My guest this next segment is George Carradini. George is an Annapolis graduate. He spent 9 years as an officer in the Marines and literally has gone on from there to have a successful career in the communications arena, the financial arena, the coaching arena, and in so many other areas. And the awards are just literally out the wazoo. I'm so thankful for him being on the show today because one of the things that I was really, I've been blessed to know George in is his combination of his Christian beliefs and the law of attraction and how he's created a real philosophy of coaching around that model. George, thanks for being on the show.
Pat, thanks for having me. I really appreciate this.
Man, I'm excited. I want to know more about your story, though, because you've gone and been in leadership programs that are some of the best in the world, and then you've gone on to achieve great things. What's the route? What's the route been? What's your road?
Well, you know, some would think it's a circuitous route, but as I look back, there's a common thread, and I've always put people ahead of myself. I've always cared more about people in their performance and how they can do better at whatever they're doing. And while at the Naval Academy at Annapolis, I chose to major in English because I wanted to learn how to learn. And one of my English professors said that humanities majors tended to make better officers because they better leaders. And that intrigued me. And I was very happy that I selected English. So I'm one of the few out there that have a Bachelor of Science in English, if you could picture that. But took a commission in the Marine Corps, got married 2 days later to my wife, who I'm still married to. We've just celebrated 28 years of marriage.
Sweet.
And we're proud parents of 3 adult children, 3 sons. And the way I got into coaching, or my story, is that while in the Marine Corps, I noticed that I was training people to be the best that they could be. And I wanted to move on from that in a different environment. I wanted to continue to train people or continue to lead people, but not necessarily in the Marine Corps.
Right.
And so after the first Gulf War, I'm aging myself here 20 years ago, went ahead and resigned my commission and moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma to be near my parents who had moved out there, and raised our family there. And while there, I was in communications and then migrated over to the financial services field. And while I was there, very quickly became a trainer, a sales trainer for new hires, and then eventually became a regional leader responsible for well over $1 billion under management, which is not the focus of this conversation, but all that time taking care of my people and the people who were serving in leadership positions was more important to me. And so after I transitioned to another firm, I discussed with my wife, you know, what's our next step? And I had an option. I could pursue financial services even further, or I could do a coaching program with Christy Whitman of Quantum Success Coaching Academy. And there's a link on my website if you want to see that. But anyway, she said, coach. You've always done coaching. That's what you are. That's what you've done. You've been a leader in church. You've been a leader in Boy Scouts and Civil Air Patrol, the Marine Corps. It's time to start coaching people.
Yeah, it's kind of who you are.
It's who I am. And so that's how I got there. I've loved it.
And so I know that when someone begins the process of working with you,
yes,
a couple of steps that they might encounter.
Sure. I take 5 steps, actually. And I don't necessarily tell the client or tell the coaching person that's what they're receiving, but I do have a 5-step system. In fact, I detail it in my forthcoming book, which is Allow Your Success Now, 5 simple steps to drop your bags and start your journey.
Okay, say that one more time.
Allow your success now, 5 simple steps to drop your bags and start your journey.
Now you have that website as well, allowyoursuccessnow.com?
Allowyoursuccessnow.com.
And so somebody's going to get the 5 steps that you actually use in your coaching practice. Excellent. Can you give us in about 30 seconds some of the steps?
Absolutely. You take the word allow, A-L-L-O-W.
Sweet.
A is for appreciate. L is for love. The second L is for look. The O is for open. Open yourself to opportunities. And the W is work. Get to work.
Really? Now, I mean, you, I imagine, are a big advocate of make stuff happen too, right?
Yes.
Get out there and make stuff happen.
Yes.
Well, when we come back from the break, I really want to get into the who's your ideal client, because obviously you attract the very best people. That's
Look
what
at
I'd
you,
like
right?
to say, right? and so I want to get into the process, how people connect to you, and because the business spotlight is really about getting your story into the public so that people can connect to you. This is Pat Doer. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Business Spotlight. I'm Patrick Doer. My guest today is George Carradini. If you could imagine combining the law of attraction with literally your Christian faith and then applying that into a philosophy of coaching, you'll end up with, well, George Carradini. I'm so thankful. And your new book is called Allow Your Success Now.
Correct. 5 simple steps to drop your bags and start your journey.
And allowyoursuccessnow.com is your website.
That's correct.
Excellent. Who is the ideal client for you?
Great, Pat. I appreciate you asking that. The ideal client for me is someone who's going through a transition. Maybe they're unemployed and they're looking for that next job. Maybe they've left a corporate career and they want to go into business for themselves. Maybe they've just left a relationship. Maybe there's somebody who's just looking for a change in their life. Oftentimes, we get to transition phases in our lives and we wind up going right back into something that we just left. And the reason for that is we haven't changed where we are. We haven't changed ourselves. We haven't changed at the level that we're vibrating at. And so whenever we make a decision or do something based on where we are, we get more of what we've gotten. So when we want to make a change, we want to find out, okay, what do I really want? So an ideal client for me would be somebody who is looking to be coached, maybe for 3 or 4 sessions, maybe longer than that. It's up to them. It's not like some of the other services out there that once you start, you can't stop. My goal is actually to coach myself out of a job.
Absolutely.
And I've done that with many of my clients. I'm working with somebody right now who actually changed from a government job and went into the private sector, something that he's always wanted to do, and he's had a great transition. And so things like that. I've also worked with people who have gone through divorce or recently through a divorce, and they're looking to get back on their feet and figure out what's next. And fortunately, the law of attraction coaching model that I use, I don't have an agenda. In other words, I help people create the lives that they want to create. And so what we do during a coaching session, and I don't know if this is a question that we're going to discuss, but a sample coaching question would be, what would you like to accomplish today? What are you working on? How do you feel right now? And how do you want to feel? And why do you want to feel that? Or why do you want what you want? And then we go through a few processes. The way that I blend my Christian faith is, as I was going through a year-long coaching academy, when I was looking at the material, the Bible verse that would correspond to whatever the practice was or the process was would pop up in my mind. And I'd say, well, wait a second, I've read this before. Yeah. This is such and such verse, or I've read this before. So this is just a lot of my Christianity repackaged in a different program. And I thought, wait a second, I don't have to put my Christianity aside to just do a law of attraction. And I don't have to put law of attraction aside because I'm a believer.
That's right.
Because God made the law of attraction. And a mutual friend of ours, David Shermer, opened my eyes to that at one of your luncheons, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
It was a
good
lot
guy.
of fun. So thank you.
And I know that when you're talking about this process, it's not a quick fix, but it really has to do with your emotion and what you're emoting. Sure. One of the things that I want to do is, before we get too far out of time here, I want to make sure people know how to connect to you. How do you want people to connect to you?
The easiest way to connect with me is either send me an email, which is george@aysn.info.
And that would be like Allow Your Success Now.
But .info.
.info.
Or go to my website, www.allowyoursuccessnow.com.
Right.
And leave a comment. Or click on Contact Me. And it'll shoot me an email. And that's the easiest way to get a hold of me.
Yeah. And when they do, what are they going to experience?
What they'll experience is I'll contact them within 24 hours to find out, to see if I would be a good fit for them to coach them. But I'll also let them know of upcoming seminars. I'm going to have a 4-week teleseminar once a week for 4 weeks, which is more of a group session. And then I'm also going to have upcoming weekends, a weekend retreat, where we can go ahead and work more specifically on projects.
That's awesome. Well, you know, one, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for your service to your country. I want to say thank you for the leadership that you have illustrated to me in the last several years. And I've seen the results. I mean, folks, I really have. I've seen the results that George has generated. One of his clients literally was drooling, and now she's like the most watched person in America. So with that, I know we're wrapping this up. Thanks so much. This is the Business Spotlight. Pat Dougherty.